Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Shri Jain Rank Zone classes. I'm your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is animal science. My dear students, today we are going to start with the first topic of human physiology, that is digestive system. This part of human physiology digestive system will help us to know about nutrition, food, nutrients, types of nutrients, and anatomy, physiology of the human digestive system. So let's begin with the first slide, introduction. First thing I would like to tell you about that what is nutrition. Nutrition is basically, it is an art and science which deals with the way of taking food. The science of taking food is known as what? Nutrition. And what are nutrients? Nutrients are the chemical substances present in food. They are known as what? Nutrients. The types of nutrients are divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, the nutrients which provide energy, they are known as what? Macronutrients, which are required in maximum amount, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins. Micronutrients, the nutrients which do not provide energy, but they are very important for different biochemical reactions, as in the lapse of those nutrients, different diseases, abnormalities, they start to appear. Example, minerals, vitamins, and water. So let's begin with human digestive system, which consists of two main parts, that is alimentary canal and digestive glands. So first we are going to start with the alimentary canal. To perform various functions of the body, energy is required, which is obtained from food. The process of conversion of complex food material into simple and diffusible form by hydrolysis is termed as digestion. Is termed as digestion. So digestion is chemical breakdown plus mechanical breakdown plus enzymatic breakdown. So digestion is a complete process in which mechanical breakdown along with the chemical breakdown in the presence of enzymes. Alimentary canal, it is tubular in structure which extends from mouth to anus. It develops from ectoderm and endoderm. Mouth to anus. It develops from ectoderm and endoderm. Ectoderm up to hard palate, it is ectoderm, and from hard palate from soft palate to rectum, it is endoderm. Again from anal canal to anus, it is ectoderm. So alimentary canal is a tubular structure which basically extends from mouth to anus. It develops from ectoderm and endoderm. Ectoderm till the hard palate, it is ectoderm. Teeth, they are ectomesodermal in origin. So till hard palate, it is ectodermal in origin. And from soft palate to rectum, it is endodermal in origin. And then from anal canal to anus, it is again ectodermal in origin. So alimentary canal, it comprises of following parts. Next slide. Mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity, esophagus, stomach, intestine. So the alimentary canal is divided into following parts. First is the mouth, or we can say the buccopharyngeal cavity, then esophagus, then stomach, and intestine. Intestine is further divided into small intestine and large intestine. Small intestine is having three parts: duodenum, ileum, and jejunum. Large intestine is having three parts: cecum, colon, and rectum. So three parts of small intestine and three parts of large intestine. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum, they are the part of small intestine, and cecum, colon, rectum, they are the part of large intestine. So the alimentary canal is divided into following parts. First is the mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity, then the esophagus, then stomach, and then intestine. Human alimentary canal. The main part of human alimentary canal is the mouth, which is the first part, mouth or buccopharyngeal cavity. The mouth or oral cavity, you can see tongue, different salivary glands, parotid, sublingual, submandibular, then pharynx, then stomach, pancreas, spleen, then the parts of large intestine, transverse colon, descending colon, ascending colon. So colon is having three parts: transverse, descending, and ascending. Then cecum, then sigmoid colon, rectum, appendix, and anal canal. Small intestine, duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Liver, gallbladder, esophagus, and anus. So these are the different parts of human alimentary canal. We will discuss all these parts. Mouth and buccal cavity. Human mouth consists of two parts: the mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity, which is a horizontal transverse slit like aperture, which is surrounded by upper and lower lip. Upper and lower lip is having a muscle which is known as what? Orbicularis oris. So mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity, which is a horizontal transverse slit-like structure which is surrounded by upper and lower lip. It is surrounded by a muscle which is known as what? Orbicularis oris. Sebaceous glands are found on the outer part of the lip. Sebaceous glands, they are found on the outer part of the lip. Serous glands are present on the inner part of the lip. So sebaceous gland on the outer part of the lip, serous glands on the inner part of the lip. Serous glands, they are the modification of mucous glands. Its secretory substance is water. Serous glands, they are the modification of mucous glands and its secretory substance is water. In rabbit, a small cleft is found in the middle part of the upper lip, which is known as what? Hair lip. In rabbit, a small cleft is found in the middle part of the upper lip, which is known as what? Hair lip. Mouth open into buccopharyngeal cavity. This cavity is divided into two parts. So mouth further opens into buccopharyngeal cavity, and the buccopharyngeal cavity is divided into two parts. This is the diagram of pharynx. You can see the nasal cavity, palate, oral cavity, pharynx, epiglottis, larynx, esophagus, jaw and lips. Buccal vestibule. A vestibule is a slit-like space bounded externally by the lips and cheeks and internally by the gums and teeth. The space between the gums and the cheeks where the food is stored temporarily for some time, it is the peripheral part of buccal or buccal cavity or mouth. Buccal vestibule, it is the space between the gums and cheeks where the food is stored temporarily for some time. It's a peripheral part. Then oral cavity. First part is buccal vestibule, then the oral cavity or buccal cavity. Oral cavity, it is lined by, it is the inner and the central part which is surrounded by upper and lower jaw. So oral cavity, it is inner and central part which is surrounded by upper and lower jaw. It is lined by stratified squamous epithelium. It is inner and central part. So oral cavity is the inner and central part. It is surrounded by upper and lower jaw. It is lined by stratified squamous epithelium. Upper jaw, which is known as what? Maxilla. Lower jaw, which is known as what? Mandible. Upper jaw maxilla is fixed to the cranial bones, skull, and lower jaw is movable as it makes temporomandibular joint. TMJ. So upper jaw is fixed, which is maxilla, and the lower jaw is movable, which is mandible. The roof of the oral cavity is called as palate. The roof of the oral cavity is known as what? Palate. Palate is further divided into soft palate and hard palate. This you can see the lips, then the gums. Gums are known as what? Gingiva. The gingiva or the gums surrounded by the lips. The space between the lips and the gingiva is what? Vestibule. This is the hard palate having rugae, soft palate, soft palate. And these are palatine tonsils, palatine tonsils. These are molars, tongue. These are the incisors, central and lateral incisors, canines, premolars, the papilla of tongue, different types of papillae. We will discuss in the coming slides, and uvula, overhanging. You can see the uvula. So the mouth of the oral cavity is having these all parts, right? Palate, hard palate, soft palate, uvula, papilla of tongue, the teeth and the teeth arrangement like premolars, canines, molars, then tongue. Okay, so all these are parts of the mouth or oral cavity or buccal cavity. Palate. Now we are going to discuss about palate. So before moving, just give me a minute. Palate. The anterior portion, the anterior part of the palate is the hard palate, and the posterior 1/3 part is the soft palate. So hard palate makes the anterior 2/3 part. It is the anterior part of the palate. It is made up of maxilla and palatine bone. So it is basically made up of the maxilla and the palatine bone in humans, but in rabbit it is made up of premaxilla, maxilla, and palatine bone. In case of humans, it is made up of maxilla and palatine bone, while in case of rabbit, it is made up of premaxilla, maxilla, and palatine bone. On the ventral surface of the hard palate, some projections or transverse ridges are present, which are known as palatine rugae. On the ventral surface of the hard palate, there are some projections or transverse ridges are present, which are known as what? Palatine rugae. You can feel these palatine rugae. Just close your mouth, then try to touch your tongue with the hard palate. Now move or slide your tongue very smoothly on the anterior part, means at the front. So without touching the incisors, you will feel that there is something having elevations and depressions. So these ridges are known as what? Transverse ridges. They are known as what? Palatine rugae. These rugae prevent slip out of the food from the buccal cavity during mastication. During mastication, the rugae, they help to provide primary retention of food. Okay, they help to, or they prevent the food from slipping out from the buccal cavity during mastication. These rugae are well developed in carnivore animals. So in carnivore animals, the rugae are very well developed. Okay, In rabbit, one pair of opening of nasopalatine duct is present at the anterior part of the hard palate. In rabbit, there is one pair of opening of nasopalatine duct which is present in the anterior part of the hard palate. These connect the buccal cavity to the nasal passage. So in rabbit, the nasopalatine duct, it opens or it is present at the anterior part of the hard palate and they connect the buccal cavity to the nasal passage. In rabbit, some olfactory receptors are also found in the nasopalatine duct, which are called Jacobson's organ. Jacobson's organ. It makes them aware of the smell of food while chewing. So in rabbit, one pair of opening of nasopalatine duct is present in the anterior part of the hard palate. These connect the buccal cavity to the nasal passage. In rabbit, there are some olfactory organs known as what? Jacobson's organ. So these Jacobson's organs, they help to take or perceive the sense of food, smell of food while chewing. Soft palate. It is the posterior part of the tongue. It is made up of involuntary muscles. So the anterior two-third part of and not the anterior, the posterior one-third part, which is the soft palate. It is made up of involuntary muscles, the muscles which are not under our control, fibrous connective tissue, and mucous epithelium. So they are made up of involuntary muscles, fibrous connective tissue, and mucous epithelium. The mucosal lining of the epithelium is stratified squamous epithelium. The posterior part of the soft palate becomes outgrown and hangs down in the form of finger-like process called uvula or velum palate. So the posterior part of the soft palate becomes outgrown and hang down in the form of finger-like process called uvula of velum or palate. I have shown you this uvula. Okay? Soft palate. One pair of large lymph nodes is present on the posterior lateral surface of the soft palate called as palatine tonsils or tonsils. So one pair of large lymph nodes are present on the posterior lateral surface of the soft palate, which are known as what? Palatine tonsil or tonsils. Soft palate is situated in the pharynx and is divided into two parts. Upper part of the pharynx, which is called the nasopharynx, okay, which is related to the nasal chamber. So the one pair of large lymph nodes are present on the posterior lateral surface of the soft palate, known as palatine tonsil or tonsils. Soft palate is situated in the pharynx and is divided into two parts. The upper part of the pharynx is called the nasopharynx, which is related to the nasal chamber. The lower part of the pharynx is called the oropharynx, which is related to the oral cavity. And one pair of openings of eustachian tube is present in the nasopharynx. So eustachian tube helps to connect the middle ear to nasopharynx. Okay, it helps to maintain the airway balance. It helps to maintain the airway pressure. So the soft palate is situated in the pharyngeal region and is divided into two parts: upper part of the pharynx and lower part of the pharynx. Upper part of the pharynx is called the nasopharynx, which is related to the nasal chamber. The lower part of the pharynx is called oropharynx, which is related to the oral cavity. One pair of openings of eustachian tube is present in the nasopharynx. This eustachian tube is related to the middle ear. Tongue. On the floor of oral cavity, a muscular, flat, fleshy plate-like structure is present, which is called tongue. On the floor of oral cavity, a muscular, flat, fleshy plate-like structure, which is known as what? Tongue. The anterior part of the tongue is free, while the posterior part of the tongue is connected to the hyoid bone. So on the floor of the oral cavity, a muscular, flat, fleshy plate-like structure which is present, known as what? Tongue. Okay. The tongue is attached to the floor of the mouth by a fold called lingual frenum. Okay. It is, I have mentioned. The surface of the tongue is connected to the floor of the buccal cavity through a very flexible membrane known as, which is a ligamentous fold known as frenum linguae or lingual frenum. So the Tongue is present on the floor of the oral cavity. The anterior part of the tongue is free, and the posterior part of the tongue is connected to the hyoid bone. The surface of the tongue, which is attached to the floor of the oral cavity or buccal cavity through a very flexible membrane, which is ligamentous fold and which is known as what? Frenulum linguae or lingual frenum. Okay? Anatomy of the tongue. You can see the tonsils, lingual tonsils. This is palatoglossal fold, circumvallate papillae. These are the palatine tonsils. Okay? Palatine tonsils. We will be studying about the tonsils, palatine tonsils, and the other types of tonsils too in the coming lectures. Okay? Pharyngeal tongue. So basically, tongue is divided, or we can say the tongue is having two regions. The posterior is the pharyngeal portion. Okay, you can see the posterior part is having the pharyngeal portion. Now the papillae, you can see the circumvallate papillae. Okay, then fungiform papillae, which is here, fungiform papillae. Okay, filiform papillae here. Filiform papillae. Okay, foliate papillae, foliate. Okay, and vallate papillae, circumvallate papillae. Okay, this is the median furrow, oral tongue, anterior two-third part. Okay, which is lined by voluntary muscles. These are lined by voluntary muscles, the anterior two-third part, and the posterior one-third part is lined by the involuntary muscles. So the anterior one-third is the oral part, and the anterior two-third is the oral part, and the posterior one-third is the pharyngeal tongue or the pharyngeal part. Okay. On the dorsal surface of the tongue, which is divided into two unequal parts by a V-shaped sulcus known as what? Sulcus terminalis. The sulcus terminalis, you can see the which is present here. I'll show you. This is the sulcus terminalis. Sulcus terminalis. Okay. The two limbs of V meet at a median pit known as foramen cecum. It is divided into two parts. So the two limbs of the V, they meet at a median pit, which is known as what? Foramen cecum, and it is divided into two parts: the pharyngeal part and the oral or papillary part. The pharyngeal part, it is the posterior one-third part of the tongue. Many small lymph nodes are present in this part, which are called lingual tonsils. Okay, the pharyngeal part, it is the posterior one-third part of the tongue. Many small lymph nodes are present in this part, which are called lingual tonsils. Oral or papillary part, it is the anterior two-third part of the tongue. Four types of papillae are found in this part, in which gustatory or taste receptors are present. So gustatory or taste receptors are present in the oral or papillary part, which is anterior two-third part of the tongue. Okay, having four types of papillae. Okay, so the pharyngeal part and the oral or papillary part. The pharyngeal part, posterior one-third. Okay, having small lymph nodes which are present. Lingual tonsils, example lingual tonsils. Oral and papillary part, it is the anterior two-third part of the tongue. Four types of papillae are found in this part. Gustatory or taste receptors are present. They have gustatory or taste receptors. Fungiform papillae. It is pink colored, small and spherical in shape. It is found on the entire surface of the tongue, but mostly present in the anterior part of the tongue. So fungiform papillae, it is pink colored. Okay, and as it is pink colored, small and spherical in shape, it is found on the entire surface of the tongue, but mostly present at the anterior part of the tongue. It is attached to tongue with the help of small pedicel. It is attached to the tongue with the help of small pedicel. It provides pink color to the tongue. It provides pink color to the tongue. So the fungiform papillae, okay, which is pink in color and which is present in the anterolateral portions, okay. It is present on the entire surface of the tongue, okay. And with the help of small pedicel, the tongue can be attached, okay. It provides pink color to the tongue. Now, filiform papillae. Filiform papillae, they are the conical papillae. Filiform papillae, they are conical papillae. Okay, they are thread-like, white-colored, and conical in shape. So, filiform papillae, they are conical papillae. They are conical in shape. They are white-colored, and they are thread-like. They are also found in the entire surface of the tongue. They are also found in the entire surface of the tongue, and they are most numerous. Most numerous. Okay. The most numerous are filiform papillae. They are thread-like, white color and conical in shape. They are also found in the entire surface of the tongue and they are most numerous. Then foliate papillae, they are found on the mid-lateral surface of the tongue. Foliate papillae, they are present on the mid-lateral surface of the tongue. They are vestigial in human beings. Their structure is leaf-like, present in rabbit and other mammals. Their structure is leaf-like and it is present in rabbit and other mammals. So fungiform, filiform, foliate papillae, which is found in mid-lateral surface of the tongue, and they are vestigial in humans. Then circumvallate papillae, they are large spherical in shape. They are large spherical in shape, or they have large spherical shaped papillae, which is found or which are found near sulcus terminalis. They are least in number, that is 8 to 12. So circumvallate papillae, they are least in number, and the foliate papillae, they are the filiform papillae, they are maximum in number. So fungiform, filiform, foliate, and circumvallate. So circumvallate, it is the large spherical shaped papillae which are found near the sulcus terminalis. Okay, they are least in number, 8 to 12. Foliate papillae, they are present or found in the mid-lateral surface of the tongue. They are vestigial in humans. Their structure is leaf-like, present in rabbit and other mammals. Filiform papillae, they are thread-like, white-colored and conical in shape, and they are also found in the entire surface of the tongue. They are most numerous. So most numerous filiform, least numerous circumvallate, most numerous filiform, least numerous least the circumvallate. Types of muscles in the tongue. There are two types of muscles present in the tongue. One is the extrinsic muscle, which is found on the outer and the spherical part of superficial part of the tongue, and it helps in the outward and inward movement of the tongue. So the two types of muscles present in the tongue for the anterior two-third and the posterior one-third. So the anterior two-third, the extrinsic muscle, it is found on the outer and superficial part of the tongue. It helps in the outward and inward movement of the tongue. Okay, outward and movement, inward. Intrinsic muscles, they are situated in the deep part of the tongue. It helps in the change in the shape of the tongue. So intrinsic muscles, they help to change the shape of the tongue, and extrinsic muscles, they help to, help in the forward or outward or inward movement of the tongue. Anterior two-third is supplied by the skeletal muscles, and the posterior one-third is supplied by the smooth muscles. Teeth. Teeth, they are ectomesodermal in origin. Major portion of the teeth arises from dermis. Part of the tooth present outside the gums only is derived from ectoderm or epidermis enamel part. The teeth are ectomesodermal in origin. Major portion of the teeth arises from dermis. The part of the tooth present outside the gums only is derived from ectoderm of epidermis, that is enamel part. In human, teeth of upper jaw are attached to the maxilla bone, while the teeth of lower jaw are attached to the mandible bone. But in rabbit, upper incisors are attached to the premaxilla, while the lower incisors, lower premolars, while the upper premolars and the molars are attached to the maxilla bone. Okay. The teeth, they are ectomesodermal in origin. Major portion of the teeth arises from dermis. Part of the teeth present outside the gums only is derived from ectoderm and epidermis. In human, teeth of upper jaw are attached to the maxilla bone, while teeth of lower jaw are attached to the mandible bone. But in rabbit, upper incisors are attached to the premaxilla, while upper premolars and molars are attached to the maxilla bone. Okay, while lower teeth attached to the dentary bone. Structure of teeth: three parts: crown, neck, and root. Crown, outer part of the tooth exposed outside gums. Neck, it is in the internal part of the tooth which is embedded inside the gums. And root, it is the part of the tooth that is inserted inside the socket of jaw. Okay, alveoli. The crown part of the tooth is made up of a very hard substance called enamel. Okay, it is the hardest material of the animal kingdom. Enamel. Tooth anatomy. This is about tooth anatomy. The tooth anatomy mainly includes enamel, dentine, pulp, cementum, nerve fibers, and blood vessels. Okay. So enamel and dentine, they fall in crown. Gums, bone, they all are followed in the roots. So enamel, dentine, pulp, they are a part of the crown, and the cementum, blood vessels, and root, they are not. I mean, they are the root part. Okay, the cementum, nerve, and blood vessels, root, they are the parts of root. Enamel is ectodermal. It is secreted by ameloblast cells of the ectoderm. It has maximum amount of inorganic salt, 96%. Inorganic salt are mainly found in the form of phosphate and carbonate of calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. 3% of water is found in the enamel. Along with it, keratin and osine protein, 1% are also found in the teeth. Osine is a protein of bones. Remaining part of the tooth develops from mesoderm of embryo. Okay. Dentine is the main part of the tooth. Approximately 69% of the inorganic salts are present in the dentine and 65% are present in the semen. 62% inorganic salts are present in bones. Okay. Enamel, yeah, dentine. Dentine surrounds a cavity around pulp cavity. This cavity contains soft connective tissue, blood capillaries, nerve fibers. Pulp cavity is necessary for the nutrition and survival of teeth. At the base of pulp cavity, an aperture is present. Though this aperture, blood capillaries and nerve fibers enter inside the teeth. This aperture is called apical foramen. Apical foramen. A special type of cells from the lining of the pulp cavity called the odontoblast. They are called the so dentine, they are surrounded by a cavity known as what pulp cavity. This cavity contains soft connective tissue, blood capillaries, nerve fibers. Pulp cavity is necessary for the nutrition and survival of teeth. At the base of pulp cavity, an aperture is present. Through this aperture, in blood capillaries and nerve fibers enter inside the teeth. This aperture is called apical foramen. A special type of cells from the lining of pulp cavity called the odontoblast cells. These cells are dentine secreting cells. Cytoplasmic process of odontoblasts are embedded to dentine in the form of fine tubule. These processes are called canaliculi. These canaliculi secretes dentine. Continue the teeth continue grow till the odontoblast vein cells remain inactive. In adults, the pulp cavity shrinks and odontoblast become inactive to the teeth stops to grow. The semen pair is made up of cementocytes, proof between the root and the bones of the teeth. The periodontal membrane is present. Okay. So we will be talking about the arrangement of the teeth. Okay. Then enamel dentine we have already discussed. Till then, my dear students, please take care of yourself. Bye bye. Take care.